Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to cilinixfxcapital. I just bumped my microphone, so I hope the sound is still good. But welcome to this new video here on XRP. We're going to do a full update for next week, and we'll also talk about the possibilities today, because obviously, usually like Sunday morning, at least in my time zone, but let's call it Sunday morning across the board, because during the morning in the US, it's usually also still quiet. But like I said, it's quiet, and then later on in the evening, when the futures markets open for equities, which will obviously be one of the most crucial things to watch over the course of the next 24 hours, we will see movement. So we'll talk about that, but next week as well. And there are some interesting things and some pretty important things we need to talk about regarding XRP in this video. So that's what we're going to do. Now, like I said, or at least we've talked about this in a Bitcoin video, the volume across the board has fallen down quite a bit, also for XRP. I must say, we've actually seen a bit of an increase of about $100 million in volume for XRP in the last couple of hours. And the volume for XRP has also held up better than the volume for Bitcoin. But then again, the volume for XRP was also lower than the volume of Bitcoin. So it kind of goes both ways. But no, I mean, when we take a look at XRP right now, look, what I said in my last couple of videos, especially last week, is that I expected XRP to test this level right here between 2.05 and 1.95, which we have done. And then from there, I expected us to rally at least into 2.3, where we have that first, I would say, confluence area. With some strong resistances, with the 30-day VWAP, 200 EMA, and 2.3. Now the question is, do I still expect that? And the answer is yes. However, circumstances have changed, and obviously, I mean, would I buy XRP right now? I think the answer to that is no. All right, and that mainly has to do with the very volatile equities opening that we're most likely going to get in the next 24 hours. All right, the volatility index right now is at the second highest levels we've seen, basically the highest levels the last year, because the 5th of August they were a bit higher, but that was a spike. So that means there is a lot of uncertainty in the markets. There is a lot of uncertainty in general, also fundamentally. So therefore, look, I still do think it's most likely that $2 and 1.95 is going to hold. All right, it's a massive support level right here. Technically, crypto has actually held up relatively well in the last couple of weeks, so we can see some crypto strength as well. And then outside of that, I actually do think that it's most likely that the equity markets have bottomed out, at least locally. All right, so they might still trend down lower in the next month or next 2 months. But at least short term, I do think that they've bottomed out. So because of all of those reasons, I do still think it's most likely that XRP is going to hold. And we've had some new developments in the last hours, which do confirm at least my stance. But I do want to warn you that if we actually do see some sort of a major escalation in this trade war, and the S&P 500 is going to drop down lower, it changes, all right? And then XRP could certainly drop down towards 1.75, 1.65, which would be the next support level. So as long as you're aware of that, we're fine, all right? Because then you know how to manage risk, etc. But like I said, for now, I still think this support level is going to hold for the reasons I've named earlier. And then what we saw this morning, which I always think is interesting to see, is that we actually saw some order flow intensity from XRP USDC, all right, which you can also trade XRP in USDC. And what we saw from there is that the open interest actually went up quite a fair bit, as you can see, in the last 8 hours by about 5%. So about $1 million in positions were opened with a volume delta of minus $3 million, all right? So that means, well, multiple things, but that means that it's most likely shorts have been opened. That's also what you can see right here if you take a look at XRP USDT. There you can also see the open interest going up with the CVD going down. So there is, again, some liquidity to the upside. New shorts have been opened, which means that short term, those shorts might actually get rewarded, and we might actually still spike down to $2, 1.95 again, especially if we have a volatile opening of the equity markets. But that's another confluence, in my opinion, which sounds a bit paradoxical, all right? More shorts means good. But that is another confirmation, in my opinion, that we can actually still see that spike up at least to 2.3, 2.25. And from there, we'll see again. Now, what I checked out this morning before those shorts were opened was the funding fees. Yeah, we actually at least, well, it's a little bit mixed. No, funding fees for XRP are still pretty neutral. Unfortunately, we would like them to be negative. I'll keep you updated on that, but maybe that's still coming later. But for now, I would still say, given all of the factors we have to talk about, that this is most likely for XRP. But like I said, be aware that a very bearish equities opening could push down XRP lower, and that is a realistic scenario. All right, but if that happens, I'll try to be the first to tell you about that. For now, this is it. So thank you for watching. Take care and bye.